tell you about the meals, Mountain View? Oh, gotta remember, this is 1930s. I started, let's see, 1933. I guess I would have been. I started at 5 years old, so I started in 1932, right? 1932. We're in the Depression here. And this was all farm country. Remember, all these houses up there at Beckwith Road, they weren't there, and down Mountain View Drive, they weren't there. This was farm country. Like Jim, my buddy, his father was a tobacco farmer down and you know where Great Singer Road is? Down the road here?
Yeah.
Well, that was Jim Greatsinger. That's where his father had a 200-acre farm there. They grew cigar tobacco. They didn't grow cigarette tobacco. And there were big barns where they hung the tobacco and all that. Anyway, that was there. And it was all farms. And the kids were all farm kids, you know. And farm kids learn at a very early age about where kittens and puppies come from, and they know all about calves and sheep and ponies and all. They know all this stuff, including adults. They know this stuff. I mean, this is not a mystery to the farm kids. I mean, it's an everyday occurrence, you know. So girls were not a mystery to us. We accepted them. They were paying but that's the way we looked at them. That's the way they looked at us. But we knew about girls. But it was poverty. I mean, a lot of kids, those kids, in fact, probably the majority, were living on 2 meals a day. They got some breakfast, they got supper. And for lunch, maybe an apple or a pear or something like that. It was poverty, you know. It was for real. It wasn't a joke. Well, the churches, to their credit, the Pine City Church and the Webb Mills Church, at that time there was no Methodist church down that one down, you know, Pennsylvania Avenue. That wasn't there. The churches at noontime, because they knew a lot of kids weren't eating, they would come around when the minister would come around in the car, and he'd have with him a big thing of soup, usually, or maybe something else, but soup would come. And he would take it into the school at noon hour, and a lot of kids would have soup, or maybe there'd be cocoa or something like that too, you know. Anyway, one day, Jim and I were out on recess. We had recesses. If you were sort of caught up on your work and your class wasn't up, you could go out for a recess. I mean, it'd be half an hour at most. But anyway, Jim and I were out there, and it was getting noon hour, and the minister showed up in his car with the lunch, soup or whatever it was. And it wasn't uncommon. There was a woman with him, and they took the soup and the stuff went in and did their thing in the building. Jim and I stayed outside. We were busy throwing stones or something important like that, you know. I mean, major important. And after a while, the minister and the lady came out. And the cars they all had running boards. You know what a running board is?
Yeah.
In order to get in the car, you didn't open the door like you do now. You had to step up on the running board and then got into the car. So the lady opened the passenger side door and stepped up. When she did it, the minister patted her on the rear. Jim and I we weren't the smartest kids in the world, but we weren't the dumbest either. We knew about all this stuff. And I looked at Jim looked at me, we both smiled, didn't say anything. The minister and the lady left. other kids came out. We told the other kids what we'd seen. We blabbed. The other kids were smart. They weren't dumb either. So anyway, the day went by. The next day, the minister and the lady come. When the minister and the lady left, every kid in the school, they were outside circling around the car waiting to see the action. Which surprised the lady and the minister, I think. Which is how that went.